Rock musician Tom Petty began his career in earnest with a group called Mudcrutch. After he and other members reformed as Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, the release of their self-titled 1976 debut started a decades-long and extremely successful run, highlighted by multi-platinum albums that featured the now classic singles American Girl, Refugee, Don't Come Around Here No More, and Learning to Fly. In 1989, Petty embarked on an equally successful solo career, delivering memorable music videos to hits like Fallin and Runnin Down a Dream. Early life. Petty was born in Gainesville, Florida on the 20th of October 1950, the first son of Earl and Kitty Petty. Though he was close to his mother and younger brother, Petty had a difficult relationship with his father, who was often physically and verbally abusive. But Petty found refuge in music, idolizing the likes of Elvis Presley and the Beatles, and learning to play guitar. By high school, Petty's passion for music was all-consuming. He began playing bass with a local group called the Epics, and at the age of 17 he dropped out of school to perform with a new band that would become known as Mudcrutch, named after the farm where two of its members lived. Petty quickly emerged as the frontman and primary songwriter in the group, which soon developed a devoted local following. The year 1974 proved a pivotal one for Petty, who married his girlfriend Jane Benyo, before moving to Los Angeles with Mudcrutch in the hopes of reaching a wider audience. There, Petty and Benyo had their second daughter AnnaKim and Mudcrutch signed to Shelter Records, but when their lone single went largely unnoticed, the group disbanded. However, the label recognized Petty's talent and offered him a solo contract. Within a few years, their confidence in him would be duly rewarded. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. After trying for a while to put together a new backing band, Petty eventually reconnected with his former Mudcrutch bandmates Mike Campbell and Benmont Tench, who were playing with bassist Ron Blair and drummer Stan Lynch. Shortly thereafter, they restructured Petty's deal with Shelter, signed a contract as Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and set to work on a new record. Released in November 1976, their self-titled debut established the blueprint for success that would follow on much of their subsequent work, combining a hard-edged rock and roll foundation with the pop sensibilities of 1960s groups, such as the Beatles and the Byrds, and featuring Petty's distinctive voice and gift for succinct storytelling. The album initially sold poorly until a subsequent tour of England with Nils Lofgren landed it on the British charts. Hoping to capitalize on their newly won overseas popularity, Shelter re-released the single Breakdown in the United States, and it reached number 40 on the charts, giving the group their first taste of success. Incredibly, the single American Girl, one of their best-known and best-loved songs, failed to reach the American charts, until it was also re-released nearly 2 decades later. Undeterred, the group returned to the studio to record their second album, 1978's You're Gonna Get It, which fared far better than its predecessor, reaching number 23 on the charts and producing the popular singles Listen to Her Heart and I Need to Know. However, their momentum was momentarily threatened when Shelter was bought by MCA, and Petty's attempts to renegotiate their contract led to lengthy legal proceedings that left him bankrupt and bitter. Looking to take their music in a new direction, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers began work on their new album with producers Dave Stewart, Robbie Robertson, and Jimmy Iovine, who had co-produced Damn the Torpedoes with Petty. The sessions also included a wide array of additional musicians and backup singers, as the band experimented with different sounds. However, handling such a large group of personalities proved both time-consuming and frustrating, and at one point the tensions grew so great that Petty punched a wall in the studio, breaking his left hand. In 1986, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers embarked on a tour with Bob Dylan, performing both their own material and serving as Dylan's backup band, before returning to the studio to record Let Me Up. Though the album reached number 20 on the charts and produced the single Jammin' Me, which reached number 1 in the United Kingdom, it was only moderately successful when compared to their earlier accomplishments. However, Petty's friendship with Dylan would lead to another more successful collaboration when they joined George Harrison, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne to form the Traveling Wilburys, whose 1988 self-titled album reached number 3 on the charts, went triple platinum, and won the Grammy for Best Rock Performance. For his first Warner Brothers offering, Petty teamed with Rubin to produce his second solo album, Wildflowers, which nearly equaled the achievements of Full Moon Fever. Among its notable tracks are the singles You Don't Know How It Feels, You Wreck Me, and It's Good to Be King. 2 years later, he reunited with the Heartbreakers to record the gold record soundtrack for the film She's the One, and also to play backup for Johnny Cash on his album Unchained. Also in 1996, Petty and his wife divorced after 22 years of marriage, beginning a difficult period for Petty in which he developed a heroin addiction. Personal struggles aside, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers kept grinding away, playing 20 sellout nights at the Fillmore in San Francisco in 1997, before returning to the studio with Rubin to produce the top 10 album Echo. Continuing his record of siding with music fans against the might of the record labels, the single Free Girl Now was initially offered as a free MP3 download, and Petty refused to raise ticket prices for their subsequent tour. In September 2017, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers wrapped up a leg of their 40th anniversary tour with a performance at the Hollywood Bowl. A week later, Petty suffered a cardiac arrest in his Malibu home and was rushed to UCLA Santa Monica Hospital. He died on October 2017 at the age of 66. Petty's longtime manager released a statement on behalf of the family and band. On behalf of the Tom Petty family, we are devastated to announce the untimely death of our father, husband, brother, leader, and friend Tom Petty. He suffered cardiac arrest at his home in Malibu in the early hours of this morning and was taken to UCLA Medical Center but could not be revived. He died peacefully at 8:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, surrounded by his family, bandmates, and friends. On January 2018, the Los Angeles County coroner announced that Petty had died from multi-system organ failure caused by a lethal combination of drugs found in his system, including the painkillers fentanyl and oxycodone and the sedative temazepam. His family followed with a statement on Petty's website, noting that they were aware the musician had been taking medications in order to continue playing live while suffering from a range of ailments that included emphysema, knee problems, and a fractured hip.